Hello, this is Chad C. Williams, and I'm going to talk about our publication, Thinking Theta and Alpha, Mechanisms of Intuitive and Analytical Reasoning, published in 2019 in NeuroImage. Essentially, the brain works in two different modes of thinking. So we think in System 1 or System 2, where System 1 is really we're just using our gut hunches, we're just using our automatic systems, like on the left here when someone's driving down a bright, unencumbered road. And on the right is System 2, on the other hand, where we have to use a lot of contemplative thinking. You need to really focus a lot of what you're doing, for example, at night when you're driving in a busy city. And what that means is System 1 is fast, it's effortless, but sometimes we're going to make mistakes. So if we're always going with our gut hunch, we're going to make some mistakes. System 2, on the other hand, it's slow, it's effortful, but is more accurate. In 1968, Daniel Kahneman, the Nobel Prize winner, who also wrote Thinking Fast and Slow in 2011, which is a really good book about System 1 and System 2, did a eye tracking experiment where they had people do mental activity with different degrees of effort and saw if their actual pupil size really could distinguish the amount of effort they're doing. So it goes like this. They start hearing the beat of a metronome. The computer then gives the participant 4 different numbers. And the participant needs to do one of two things with those numbers depending on the trial. They either repeat the numbers back twice, or they add 1 to the numbers and then repeat those numbers back. In the add 0 condition, the computer says 5881, and participants are simply supposed to repeat 5881. But in the add 1 condition, participants hear 6211 from the computer, and they're adding 1 to each of those numbers, and they're going to say 7322. Basically, the idea is that this add 0 condition is really easy because all you have to do is remember 4 numbers and repeat it. But this add 1 condition, you have to not only remember those 4 numbers, but you actually have to do mathematical manipulations by adding 1 to each of them, and then repeat that. So they have 4 conditions, but let's just focus on 2 of them here. What we see on the top here is that same graphic I just had in the last slide. What happens is as they start to hear the different numbers, they already know what condition they're in from earlier on over here. And they start hearing the different numbers, and the pupil dilation, which is our y-axis here, increases more for the add 1 condition. So the condition where they're actually going to do the mathematical manipulation. So they hear the 4 numbers right here, and for both conditions, their pupil dilation is increasing, showing that their working memory is starting to be filled with these numbers. But in the add 1 condition, they also have to add that they are doing these mathematical manipulations. And that's what they see. As people are doing these manipulations, there's extra large pupil dilations in comparison to when they're not doing these manipulations over here. And what they concluded was that pupil dilation is a window into processing load. So what we wanted to do is we wanted to replicate this study from 1968, but also introduce EEG methods which are more sensitive to underlying cognitive mechanisms to try and discern what mechanisms are involved in System 1 and System 2. First, in Figure 1, what we found was replication of their eye tracking results. More importantly, what we did is we looked at frequency rhythms of the brain. So this data is difference data, which is add 1 minus add 0 condition, which means that positive values correspond to higher activation for System 2, while negative values correspond to higher activation for System 1. And what we see is that theta increases towards System 2, so there's more theta for System 2 than there is for System 1. And there's more alpha for System 1 than there is for System 2. So we find that these are neural indicators of System 1 and System 2. So what we conclude is System 1, as indicated by alpha, involves the release of intentional control and access to long-term memory. Whereas System 2 is indicated by theta, involves cognitive control and working memory.